You know that musty umbrella in your closet? It may seem like no big deal, but even a small amount of moisture in a dark enclosed place, that can give birth to mold spores.
Mold. Black. Green. Gross. And potentially deadly. You've seen it in bathrooms, in the kitchen, even on walls. But did you know that's not the only place it could be lurking? It could be here, where you least expect it.
And you know, mold can range from being completely harmless to, for some people, an allergen. But in other situations, mold can be truly deadly.
Yeah, sure. And those consequences can depend on your age, your immune system, or the type of mold you're dealing with. And in kids, we found that their risk of developing asthma can more than double simply by being exposed to the smell of mold.
So let's pull up what mold looks like here. And I'm going to expand this. And we've all seen it, just that appearance of mold. Now, this is obviously not at the cellular level, but can cause a lot of things, right, Drew?
Well, right, and you know, too often that closet of yours, I'm getting back to your dirty closet, is a perfect breeding ground for mold. You put your dirty, wet clothes, your shoes, back of the closet, you cover it up, you throw it, something's on top of it, boom, that mold starts to grow. You can get pretty sick. What kind of symptoms do you typically get from mold? Well, you know, it's very similar to a cold. That's the problem: sneezing, running nose, cough, itchy or watery eyes. You may just brush it off as exposure to dust that was in your closet, or you're having a cold. But if this is an ongoing thing, it may be signs of something more serious.
And it's important to note that you're not always going to see the mold. But what are the things you should look for? Well, this is Aspergillus. Very common type of mold, a leading cause of infections that lead people to be hospitalized. And this mold, this is actually called Stachybotrys.
The Stachybotrys, this is that black mold
yes.
that we've seen in the headlines. Is very dangerous.
Right.
Dangerous to your pets, too.
Very dangerous.
And for older people, kids, anybody whose immune system is compromised, diabetes.
And speaking of immunocompromised people, pregnant women sort of fall into that category. And so they can get really sick from the respiratory infections, again, the sinus things that could actually cause preterm labor. There have been no studies to actually show that mold causes birth defects in pregnant women. So it's more of the symptoms, the headaches that can lead, again, to preterm labor symptoms, which can be serious, lead to preterm delivery. And if it causes respiratory problems and problems breathing, maybe a low birth weight. So these are the other complications. So it's not benign, and that's why my patients who worry about mold in their houses, they should actually worry about it, but not because of birth defects.
But how do you prevent mold? The number one thing is you have to watch the moisture in your home. You know, you can go to the hardware store for 20 bucks. You can buy something that will gauge the humidity in your home. You want to keep it below 50%. You may, if you live in a very humid place, need to buy a dehumidifier. But again, there's that sweet spot where there's enough moisture in the air, but not so much that mold's growing throughout your house. If you do have mold, we're actually going to have the top 10 things you need to know to stop mold before it starts, or how to clean it up at our website, thedoctorstv.com.